Just take the little one to a shelter, my mom said, like she was telling me where to park. You can sleep here, but she can't. My daughter's fingers locked around my hoodie. Lila didn't scream. She did that tight, silent hiccup kids do when they're trying to be brave and failing. Behind my mom, the hallway glowed warm. I smelled pot roast. I heard a cartoon. My mom kept one hand on the doorknob, half blocking the entrance like a bouncer. She's 7, I said. I can't drop her off somewhere. My stepdad, Gene, leaned in with his calm guy smile. We're not being harsh. We're thinking long term. The house is full, Lila whispered. I'll be quiet, Grandma. Mom smiled at her like she was a neighbor's kid. It's not about quiet, honey. It's about stability. Then she said the sentence that made my chest go cold. Your sister's baby is sleeping. We can't have a traumatized kid wandering around waking him up. Traumatized kid. That was my child. Said by my mother, on her porch, while my car still smelled like smoke. 3 hours earlier, the city had ordered us out. A chemical fire at the plastics plant. Sirens. Sky turning copper. Alert screaming evacuate. A masked official at my door saying the air wasn't safe for children. I grabbed Lila's inhaler, her backpack, and the stuffed rabbit she treats like a bodyguard. We drove 2 hours in a line of terrified families. Lila kept asking if the bad air could sneak into the vents. I told her no, and shut them off anyway. I called my mom while I drove. She answered fast. Come here, she said. Of course you can come here. I didn't ask. With Lila? Because what grandmother needs that spelled out? When we arrived, the porch light was on, like every holiday, for one stupid second. I felt like the ground under me was solid. Mom hugged me for 2 seconds, then her eyes slid past my shoulder. Oh, she said. You brought her. Inside, I heard my sister Paige laughing, the baby crying soft. Paige moved back home for a little while last year. Now there was a nursery in my old room that used to be mine because I didn't need much space. Mom's voice stayed gentle, the way it does when she's about to win. We thought it would just be you. I actually laughed. Alone? They evacuated our whole neighborhood. Jean jumped in, smoothing. Paige is overwhelmed. The baby's on a schedule. We can't add chaos. Chaos, I repeated, staring at Lila's small shoes on the welcome mat. Mom nodded like she was reasonable. You can stay. We'll make it work for you. But Lila should be somewhere calmer. Maybe with a friend? With who? I asked. Everyone I know is either evacuated or 2 hours away. Mom's eyes hardened for half a second. Marin, don't make this into a fight. We're doing what's best for the family. There it was. The phrase she uses to turn a boundary into a sin. Lila's hand squeezed my hoodie again. Mom? I looked at my mother's body language, how she protected the house from my kid, not my kid from anything. I thought about what a shelter would look like tonight. Rows of cots, strangers, flu season, a 7-year-old girl with asthma. I bent down to Lila. Grab, Bunny, I said softly. We're leaving. Mom inhaled like I'd insulted her. Marin, please. It's temporary, Jean added. Don't punish everyone. This is for the family. End quote. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just nodded, like I was taking notes. Okay, I said. I understand. We walked back to the car. Lila turned once. Grandma? She asked, voice cracking. Mom forced a smile. We'll see you soon, honey. We ended up in a motel with a flickering sign and a lobby that smelled like bleach trying to hide old cigarettes. Lila curled around her rabbit and asked, Are we safe? Yeah, I lied. We're safe. When she finally fell asleep, I opened my phone. A text from my mom. Come back tomorrow. We'll talk. Without her. Okay? I stared at it until my hands stopped shaking, and that's when it hit me. My mom wasn't stressed about space. She'd already decided my daughter didn't belong. The next morning, I drove to a pharmacy and bought a cheap air purifier, a pack of kid masks, and a toothbrush because Lila's had melted in my head as non-essential. She sat in the motel chair swinging her legs, watching me like she was waiting for the next aftershock. "Are we going to Grandma's later?" she asked. I kept my voice light. "Not today." Her face fell. "Did I do something?" "No," I said too fast. "No, baby. You didn't. The news said the fire was contained, but the neighborhood was still off limits. Assessment pending, they called it. Like my whole life was an app update. I had work messages piling up. I'm a payroll manager for a construction company. Numbers, schedules, people's rent money. I can't exactly disappear. So I called my boss and told him I'd be remote until further notice. He said, "Do what you need." And I almost cried because that sentence shouldn't feel rare. By noon, my mom called. I let it ring. Then she called again. Then Jean. Then Paige. Paige left a voicemail in that fake sweet voice. "Hey Yee, just checking in. Mom's really upset. You know she didn't mean it like that. The baby's just delicate. Like my kid wasn't." I didn't call them back. I took Lila to a park across from the motel because she needed daylight. She climbed a slide and laughed once, then stopped, like laughing was illegal during emergencies. That night, after she fell asleep, I did the thing I always do when I'm scared. I opened spreadsheets, not work spreadsheets, family ones. When my grandma died, she left a third of my mom's house to me. Not money, not jewelry, paperwork. My mom called it just a formality, she said. "It keeps things fair." Then she convinced me to sign a private agreement that I'd never sell my portion. Because family, she said. Because stability. Every month since I was 25, I'd been sending $200 into a house fund. Repairs, taxes, roof, plumbing. I didn't live there. I didn't even have a key anymore. But I paid. Like a subscription for belonging. That night in the motel, I opened my banking app and stared at the next scheduled transfer. I thought about my mom's text. "Without her, okay?" And I stopped the payment. One tap. Gone. It felt like cutting a string I didn't realize was around my wrist. The next day, I found a real estate attorney. Not because I was planning revenge, because I needed options. Lila needed a stable place to sleep that didn't depend on my mom's mood. The attorney, Miss Park, didn't act shocked when I explained. She just said, "You're a tenant in common. You can sell your share. Or you can petition the court to force a sale of the entire property." "You mean, even if they live there?" I asked. "Especially if they live there," she said, like she'd said it 1,000 times. I went back to the motel and sat on the bed next to Lila's coloring book. Lila was humming, drawing a house with a big door and a tiny stick figure outside it. The tiny stick figure had sad eyebrows. "Sweetheart," I asked, keeping my tone casual, "why is the person outside?" She didn't look up. "They don't fit," she said. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. That evening, the city finally updated the evacuation zone. Our street was still red, still unsafe, still not home. My mom called again. This time I answered, because part of me wanted to hear her try to explain it away. She didn't say hi. "Where are you staying?" "A motel. Bring yourself here," she said, quick. "We can talk like adults. And Lila?" Silence. Then, "Marin, don't do this. You know Paige needs support. The baby." "I asked about my daughter," I said. Jean took the phone. "Honey, no one is rejecting her. We're trying to keep the house calm." "Calm for who?" I asked. "For the family," he said. Like it was a hymn. I hung up without warning. Miss Park drafted the notice that night. Certified mail. Return receipt. A formal letter telling my mother, Jean, and Paige that I was exercising my legal right to sell my share or force a sale. I didn't warn them. I didn't owe them a heads up because they didn't warn me when they decided my child was disposable. And while Lila slept beside me with her rabbit tucked under her chin, I watched the tracking number update online. Delivered, signed for, by my mother. That's when my phone started ringing like an alarm. Before I tell you what they did next, do me a favor, hit like, subscribe, and stay with me, because the next part flips everything. The first call was my mom. I ignored it. The second was Jean. I ignored it. The third was Paige, and I answered because Paige doesn't call unless she's panicking. What the hell is wrong with you? She snapped before I could say hello. Mom is crying. You're trying to kick us out. I'm not kicking anyone out, I said. I'm selling my share. You can't, she said, like she was the lawyer. That's our home. Our? I repeated. Interesting. When I showed up with Lila, it wasn't our anything. Paige exhaled hard. Stop making it about that. You're being petty. Mom was just protecting my baby. And I was protecting my child, I said. I guess we both made choices. Paige lowered her voice, suddenly sweet. Okay, let's talk. Just you and me. Come over. Leave Lila with someone. There's no one, I said. She sighed like I was exhausting. Then bring her. Just keep her quiet, okay? I almost laughed at the whiplash. I didn't go. Instead, I found a short-term rental across town from the plant, somewhere with clean air and a door that didn't come with conditions. It was tiny and overpriced, but it had 2 bedrooms and a kitchen that didn't smell like despair. Lila walked in and said, "This is our place?" "For now," I said. She ran to the second bedroom and put her rabbit on the pillow like she was claiming territory. "Bunny likes it," she announced. That night, my mom posted on Facebook. She didn't use my name. She didn't need to. Small towns do math fast. "Some people forget who raised them," she wrote. "Some people would sell their own childhood home and leave family with nowhere to go." My heart is broken. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. 2 days later, the wrong detail showed up. A coworker messaged me. "Hey, are you okay? Why is your mom saying you're trying to take custody of Paige's baby?" I froze. "What?" She sent a screenshot. Another post, this time from Paige. "My sister is spiraling. She's homeless and unstable, and now she's threatening legal action. If anything happens to my son, I have receipts." Receipts. For what? My emergency motel? My stomach flipped. Not because of the posts. Because of the word unstable. That's not gossip. That's a setup. I called Miss Park immediately. "Can they do anything with this? Like, try to say I'm unfit?" Miss Park was quiet for a beat. "People weaponize narratives," she said carefully. "Do you have anyone who can vouch for you? School records? Doctor visits? Stable employment?" "Yes," I said. "Of course." "Good," she said. "And document everything." That night, at 10:17 p.m., there was a knock on my rental door. I opened it to a woman with a clipboard. "Child Protective Services," she said. "We received a report about a child living in unsafe conditions." My entire body went cold. "What report?" She glanced down. "Concerns of temporary housing, possible exposure to hazardous air, and lack of family support." Family support. I laughed once, sharp. "That's funny," I said. "Because my family support is the reason we're here." The CPS worker's eyes softened a little. "I'm not here to judge. I have to check. Can I see where your daughter sleeps?" Lila was in pajamas, sitting on the couch with her rabbit, watching the woman like she was a monster in a cartoon. I showed the worker Lila's room. Clean sheets, stuffed animals lined up like guards, medication on the dresser, a calendar with school days circled. The worker took notes. She asked Lila a few questions. Lila answered politely, like she'd been trained. When the worker left, she said, "This looks fine. I'm sorry you had to go through this." I shut the door and slid to the floor. Lila sat beside me. "Am I in trouble?" she whispered. "No," I said, but my voice broke. "You're not." After she fell asleep, I checked my email. Miss Park had forwarded a document she'd pulled from the county records. "There's something you should see," she wrote. It was a loan document, a home equity line of credit on my mom's house, opened 18 months ago, with 4 signatures: Mom, Jean, Paige, and mine, except the handwriting wasn't mine. It was neat, practiced, and wrong in a way that made my skin crawl. My name, on a debt I never agreed to, and the amount? $280,000. My phone buzzed with another message, this time from an unknown number. "Stop this, or you'll lose her." No name, no emoji, just a threat, and suddenly the story wasn't about a house anymore. It was about my daughter. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I went to the bank. I took the document on my phone, printed out, and I sat across from a loan officer who looked like he hadn't slept since 2009. "I didn't sign this," I said. He blinked. Slow. "Ma'am, your signature is on the file." "It's not my signature," I said again, louder. "And I want you to pull the original." He disappeared for 20 minutes and came back with a folder like it was radioactive. He slid it across the desk. There it was. The signature. My name, written like someone had traced it from memory. I felt nauseous. Not because they did it, because they did it carefully. The loan officer cleared his throat. "If you're saying this is fraudulent, we have procedures. Start them," I said. By the time I left the bank, my hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold my keys. Miss Park filed an emergency motion the same day. She also advised me to file a police report. I did, and the officer who took it looked tired in the way people look when they've heard too many family horror stories. "Most fraud is someone you know," he said, not unkindly. "I know," I said. 2 days later, we had our first court date on the partition sale. My mom showed up in a blazer like she was going to a fundraiser. Paige wore a sweater with a tiny stitched baby footprint, like she was auditioning for sympathy. Jean kept his eyes down, hands folded. When I walked in with Miss Park, my mom's face did that familiar thing, a tight smile, eyes sharp, like I was a stain on the carpet. The judge listened to Miss Park explain my legal right to sell. My mom's attorney tried to argue family agreement and emotional hardship. The judge didn't care. Then Miss Park said, "Your Honor, we also discovered an outstanding HELOC on the property that includes my client's name. My client denies signing." The room changed temperature. I watched my mom's jaw clench. Paige's eyes darted to Jean. The judge leaned forward. "Are you alleging forgery?" "Yes," Miss Park said. The judge's voice went flat. "That's a separate matter, but it affects this case." My mom stood up, hands trembling in a performance that might have fooled strangers. "Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding. Marin is stressed. She's been displaced. She's not thinking clearly." I stared at her. She was using my homelessness as a weapon. The same homelessness she helped create. The judge held up a hand. "Ma'am, sit down." Outside the courtroom, my mom cornered me near the vending machines. "You're really going to do this?" she hissed, low so no one could hear. "After everything we've done for you? For me?" I said. "You told me my kid couldn't come inside." Mom's eyes flashed. "I was protecting Paige's baby. And who was protecting mine?" I shot back. Jean stepped between us, palms out. "Let's not talk like this in public." "Public," I repeated. "You mean where people can see you?" Paige walked up, rocking an empty car seat like a prop. "You're ruining us," she whispered, eyes wet. "If the house sells, where do we go?" I looked at her. "You told CPS I was unsafe." Paige blinked hard. "I didn't." "Yes, you did. I said. And I'm done pretending you're confused. That night, Lila came home from school quiet. She dropped her backpack and didn't go for a snack. What happened? I asked. She hesitated. Grandma came, she said. I felt my blood drain. To where? To school, Lila whispered. She said she was picking me up. My knees went weak. Did they let her? Lila shook her head fast. No. Mrs. Alvarez called you. But Grandma was mad. She said you were making the family look bad. I checked my phone. There it was. A missed call from the school. An email I hadn't seen because I was in court. The front office had a new note. Unauthorized adult attempted pickup. I sat on the floor and pulled Lila into my lap so hard she squeaked. You never go with anyone unless I tell you, I said, voice shaking. I didn't, she said. Small. I promise. I believed her. I didn't believe my mother, because now I knew what for the family could mean. It could mean trying to take my daughter when the money stopped working. And the worst part? My mom knew exactly how to sound convincing. An officer came to my rental and asked questions. He wrote down my mom's name like it was a stranger's. I filed for a protective order the next day, not because I wanted drama, because I wanted a paper trail, because I wanted my kids' school to have something stronger than, my mom is difficult. My mom found out within hours. She left a voicemail that sounded like she was crying, but her words were sharp. How dare you accuse me? I am her grandmother. I would never hurt her. You're breaking this family apart. Breaking. Like I hadn't been broken for years. Miss Park called later. The bank confirmed irregularities, she said. They're escalating it to their fraud department. That loan can be called due immediately. What happens to them? I asked, and I surprised myself with how flat my voice was. Best case? They refinance under their own names. Worst case? The lender demands repayment, and the house becomes part of it. I sat at the kitchen table staring at a bowl of cereal I hadn't touched. Lila was at the counter doing homework, humming. Paige texted me that night. Not angry this time, soft. Please. We didn't mean for this to get out of hand. Mom said you'd calm down. Can we just meet and talk? That was the new angle. Calm down. Like I was a toddler having a tantrum, not a woman responding to a felony. I didn't reply. 2 days later, the fraud investigator called me. He asked if I'd ever given my mom permission to sign on my behalf. I said no. He asked if I'd ever lived at her address in the last 2 years. I said no. He asked if I knew where my personal documents were stored growing up. I swallowed. My mom has a lockbox, I said. She always kept our birth certificates, social security cards, just in case. Just in case, he repeated, and I heard the same tired tone as the police officer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing my mom's voice at the door. Just drop her at a shelter. Like the shelter was a babysitter. At 2:04 a.m., I got another message from an unknown number. You're selfish. She deserves a real family. I didn't respond. I blocked it. The next week, the court granted the temporary protective order. The judge also ordered the property listed for sale unless my mom bought me out within 30 days. 30 days. My mom had never handled deadlines well unless she was controlling them. Paige called me the same afternoon, sobbing for real this time. The bank is freaking out, she said. They're saying the loan might be accelerated. Mom says you set us up. I didn't forge my name, I said. Paige's sob turned into anger. You could have just helped us. With what? I snapped. Money you stole from me? She went quiet, then smaller. We thought you wouldn't notice. That sentence landed like a slap. They didn't think I'd notice my own life. The listing went live a week later. My mom's house, my childhood house, showed up online like a product. Clean photos, bright windows, no sign of the spots in the hallway floor where I used to count steps to avoid Paige's toys. Offers came fast because the town is cute and people like houses with good bones. Then the lender made their move. A letter arrived to my mom's address, but the bank CC'd me because my name was on the loan. Notice of default and demand for immediate payment. My mom called me screaming, not crying now. "You did this! You're making us lose everything!" I held the phone away from my ear and watched Lila color at the table, tongue sticking out in concentration. "Mom," I said when she paused for breath, "you risked my daughter's safety and you stole my identity. Don't call that everything." She lowered her voice, suddenly calm. "If you don't fix this, Marin, I will do whatever I have to do to keep this family together." I knew that tone. It meant she was planning something. The next day, Lila didn't come out of school when the bell rang. For 9 minutes, she was gone. 9 minutes is a lifetime when you've already watched your mother try to pick her up once. The front office staff saw my face and didn't ask questions. They just started moving. Mrs. Alvarez grabbed her radio. The principal locked the side doors. Someone checked the bathrooms. Someone checked the playground. I couldn't breathe. I kept seeing my mom's hand on that doorknob, blocking, claiming, deciding. Then Lila appeared, being led by the hand from the nurse's office, cheeks wet. "She had a panic stomach ache," the nurse said quickly. "We kept her here. I'm sorry we didn't call sooner." I dropped to my knees and hugged her so hard she squealed. "I'm here," I whispered into her hair. "I'm right here." Lila sniffed. "I thought Grandma was going to take me," she admitted, voice muffled. "Did you see her?" I asked, trying to stay calm. Lila nodded. "I saw her car in the parking lot. She didn't come inside. She just waited. I drove home with both hands strangling the steering wheel. When we got inside, I locked the door, then locked it again like that did anything. Miss Park called that evening. "We have confirmation," she said. "The signatures are forged. The bank is cooperating with law enforcement. There will likely be charges." I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I felt sick. Charges don't undo fear. Charges don't erase the image of my child scanning a parking lot for a grandmother who has become a threat. The house sold 2 weeks later. My mom couldn't buy me out. Paige couldn't. Jean didn't even pretend. After fees and the loan mess, my mom and Paige's portion got swallowed almost entirely by the lender. My third, because it was mine and documented, came through clean. It wasn't some movie payout. It was enough to breathe. I signed a lease-to-own agreement on a small townhouse across from Lila's school. I picked it because the front door is visible from the kitchen window, because the neighbors have kids and they actually wave, because no one there knows my mother. On move-in day, Lila taped a paper sign to our door that said, "Welcome home" in crooked marker. "Is Grandma allowed to come here?" she asked, casual, like she was asking if squirrels could enter. "No," I said. "She's not." She nodded, like that was a normal rule, then went back to arranging her stuffed animals on the bed. A week later, my mom sent one last email. Not an apology, a verdict. "You chose money over blood. One day Lila will understand what you did." I stared at it, then deleted it. Here's the thing I didn't expect. The quiet afterward. No more calls. No more posts. No more for the family speeches. Just my daughter humming while she brushes her teeth. Like life can be simple when adults stop making it dangerous. In the final hearing, the judge granted the permanent protective order. My mom cried in court. Paige looked furious. Jean looked like he wanted to disappear. The judge didn't care about their feelings. He cared about facts. Walking out, Paige tried one more time, voice trembling. "You didn't have to destroy us," I turned and said. "You destroyed trust the moment you used my name like it was yours." Then I walked away because I'm done performing forgiveness for people who never earned it. Now when trucks rumble by and the windows shake, Lila still flinches. So do I. But we have routines. We have locks. We have a place where no one can decide she doesn't fit. And before you judge me, I want you to sit with the real question because it's not about a house. It's this. If the people who say family are the ones putting your child at risk, what do you owe them? This is where I need you to weigh in. Would you cut them off completely, even if it meant they lost everything? Or do you believe blood buys unlimited chances? Drop your thoughts in the comments and share this with someone who's stuck in a but their family trap, because I know I'm not the only one who's been asked to sacrifice a kid for appearances.